Content warning. Discussion of racist stereotypes in children's media. Hello. I'm the nostalgic critiquer. I recall media that may have resonated with you during your childhood, so that it need not burden you. When I was a kid, there were certain scenes in movies that would stick with me for one reason or another. I would always cry at the scene in Dumbo where Dumbo visits his mother and she's locked up away from him. I always felt perplexed by the part of the infamous Turtle Club scene in Master of Disguise in which Dana Carvey's character temporarily removes another character's nose. And I always felt disturbed by the scene in Home Alone in which Marv steps on a nail. But when I think of movies that emotionally scarred me as a kid, I always think of the 1999 Inspector Gadget film adaptation. Specifically, this scene.
Put all other things out of your head except obtaining the balls.
Now, I don't know if other people find this scene as upsetting as I do. On a surface level, genital injury gags are fairly common in kids' movies, but this particular scene always felt different to me. Now, what made this genital injury scene different? Let's break it down. For one, most genital injuries typically involve a quick moment of impact followed by a brief comical reaction shot, either caused by an intentional act of violence against an antagonistic character or some sort of slapstick accident, such as an object being thrown or some sort of fall. But this genital injury scene, involving a cyborg man accidentally grabbing a man's testicles with his hand, it somehow seems more violent in a more visceral way than a classic kick in the family jewels. Secondly, there's something about the tone of the scene that seems to attempt to blend realism and cartoon aesthetics in a way that, instead of making the scene come off as funny, just makes it eerie. Eyes bulging out works in a cartoon, but it's disturbing in live action. This is a tonal oddity of the entire film, sometimes utilizing cartoon sound effects and physics outside of the context of the gadgets while simultaneously having elements that are dark. I mean, in the first 10 minutes of the film, a man is murdered. And just look at some of the cartoon sound effects used as our hero is maimed permanently and our antagonist has his hand disembodied. Thirdly, it's the length of the impact that makes the scene disturbing. For 20 seconds, we witness the anguish and suffering of this man who did absolutely nothing to deserve this suffering. And in the midst of this atrocity, our hero, played by Matthew Broderick, seemingly does nothing to attempt to rectify the situation. He never says, "Go, go, Gadget, let go of that guy's testicles." He just stares with this stupid look on his face. That, combined with the man's desperate screams of anguish in the midst of the injury, and while being carried away on a stretcher into an ambulance with an ice pack on his crotch, leads me as an audience member to feel a whole lot less comfortable rooting for our intrepid protagonist, especially since we never witness Inspector Gadget expressing or showing remorse for the horrible accident. Quick aside here, but what is up with this gag that testicular damage leads to a person's voice becoming comically high-pitched?
You serious, man? Don't move!
So, I'm guessing where this idea came from was the idea of the castrati, men who had soprano or alto vocal ranges caused by castration. But here's the thing, the reason castrati had a higher vocal range was because they were castrated before puberty. Testicular damage or removal that occurs after puberty has no effect on the vocal range. Now, I know this may seem like an odd thing for me to fixate upon, but if this was how testicles worked, then passing would be a lot easier for trans women. Hell, if this was how it worked, I would have pummeled my crotch with a baseball bat more than a decade ago. I would have spent a whole lot less time on cognitive behavioral therapy, and a lot more on another kind of CBT, if you know what I mean. The other thing is, the guru character is racist. He's a racist Indian caricature, which I think does play into why he's subjected to the cruelty intended to be humorous, because the character is a dehumanized racial stereotype, so it's funny if he's horribly physically maimed. Ha 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 ha. What happened with him? How did this affect his life? How did it affect his relationships? You know, did he have a wife? Did he want to have kids? Does that affect his ability to have kids? You know, maybe, he was planning to have biological kids. We don't know what his story is. Maybe, it affects his sex life in some way. What, you can't be a guru and have a sex life? Who makes those rules? He's not a Jedi. There's no rules. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. He's a human. Maybe he could be the villain in Inspector Gadget 3. He's out for revenge against Inspector Gadget from taking away his manhood. Disney, come to me. I'll write that script. You want to write Inspector Gadget 3? Everybody wants Inspector Gadget 3, right? We'll connect him to the Marvel Universe. Whoa! Fun fact, in the Wikipedia summary for Inspector Gadget, it says he emasculates him. That's the term they use. They say he emasculates him. Come on, even Wikipedia's just being like, imagine that. You got this happens to you. And you read the Wikipedia article for your movie and you're just like,
what the fuck, man? Because you're just rubbing salt in my wounds. In my testicle wounds. Inspector Gadget, baby.
The guru better not wind up stuck with that hospital bill. But I get the feeling he was contracted and isn't actually a city employee, so he probably wouldn't be covered through workers' comp. And city governments are notoriously resistant to admitting fault and incredibly difficult to sue, so he's probably screwed. Unless he sued Inspector Gadget, or he could sue Dr. Brenda Bradford and her robotics company, since it was arguably her technology that caused the accident. Attorney Tom, you're a catastrophic injury attorney. You want to chime in on this one? Now, conversely, my favorite genital injury scene is this one. Ah, the terrific monstrosity that is the live-action Cat in the Hat. I'm glad I can still enjoy that movie. It's not like there's some horribly mean-spirited, insensitive, racist caricature portrayed throughout that film's runtime, right?
Here she comes!
We're going to ride, Mrs. Kwan.
Please keep your hands and feet in the one at all times!
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Well, at least I can still enjoy the Disney animated classic Dumbo, right?
Why, this is most irregular.
Just look down here, brother. But I be done seeing about everything when I see an elephant fly.
All right. All the movies I remember fondly from childhood are racist and bad, and I'm a terrible person for having nostalgia for them. Well, anyways, if you saw the 1999 Inspector Gadget as a kid, did it impact you the same way as it impacted me? What movie scenes disturbed you as a kid? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna try to get engagement from the audience, so they'll do better in the algorithm. Oh, I was flat in one of those notes. I was flat.